Hello, and thank you for being here. I'm Cassandra Terry, and today we're going to talk about compliance, not as a checklist, but as a leadership strategy. Because when done right, not only does it help us build resilient products, it helps us build resilient leaders. I lead compliance across global cloud environments, working in highly regulated environments where trust is not optional, it is required. And what I've learned is this: the strongest teams don't treat compliance as a barrier, they design for it from the very beginning. And the strongest leaders do the same. They plan for how they're going to show up, especially in high pressure situations. Here's where we're going. We'll start by reframing compliance. Then we'll look at how trust is built into systems. I'll give you three practical actions you can use immediately, and throughout, we'll connect it back to how you lead. Let's start with how we think about compliance. In tech, we celebrate speed. We measure velocity, we reward shipping. But customers do not stay because of speed. They stay because of trust. And when trust is broken through a security issue, a compliance gap, or a failure in governance, the impact is significant. It's reputational, it's financial, and it's long lasting. And the same is true for us as leaders. We can move fast, but if we're not grounded, we lose confidence just as quickly. And here's the tension. In most environments, speed is visible, trust is not. You get rewarded for delivering quickly, you get recognized for shipping, but the work required to build trust, thinking ahead, asking harder questions, slowing things down intentionally, often go unseen. So as a leader, you're constantly navigating this. Do I move fast and be celebrated now? Or do I build something that will hold later? That's not a technical decision, it's a leadership decision. Compliance is often seen as a brake, the thing that slows us down. But in mature organizations, compliance is the steering system. It helps us move in the right direction with confidence. When it's embedded early, it reduces rework. It prevents crisis decisions and enables innovation we can stand behind. In our own careers, we often treat reflection the same way, as a break, but it actually helps us to move forward with clarity. The ability to take a step back, assess how things are going, what's working, what's not working, and make the necessary adjustments will smooth our path to accomplishing our goals, not slow us down. And this shows up in how we manage ourselves. Many high performing professionals, especially women in tech, have been conditioned to just keep going, push through, figure it out, don't slow the team down. But if you never pause to assess your direction, you could be moving quickly in the wrong direction. Compliance forces a pause, and strong leaders learn how to pause before they're forced to. Compliance by design is leadership expressed through architecture. It's not reacting to risk after the fact, it's anticipating the risk, designing around it, and aligning what we build with what we're accountable for. Because leadership isn't just about what we build, it's how we build ourselves under high pressure. This is where structure becomes critical. Structure is the foundation for building trust. Trust is engineered, it's not assumed. At the architectural level, this means understanding your data flows, defining your encryption intentionally, and structuring access based on principles, not convenience. Because if structure is undefined, risk doesn't just disappear, it just becomes invisible. And the same is true internally. If your values, your priorities, your boundaries aren't clear, pressure will define them for you. This is where discipline shows up, because defining structure early is not the fastest path. It takes more thought, more intention, more clarity. And the same is true personally. It's easier to say yes. It's easier to adapt. It's easier to go along with what's already in motion. But when you don't define your structure, your standards, your boundaries, your priorities. You don't eliminate pressure, you delay it. Structure reduces stress. When controls are embedded into pipelines and evidence is captured automatically, teams don't scramble later. When governance is a part of delivery and not tacked on at the end, everything changes. When risk is reactive, stress escalates. When risk is designed, confidence increases. The same applies personally. When everything in your life is reactive, stress takes over. When you design your approach, you lead with intention. So let's make this practical. Think about your day. How much of it is reactive? Meetings you didn't expect, requests you didn't plan for, decisions you're making under pressure. That's the equivalent of a system without a workflow design. Everything feels urgent. Everything feels important. But when you design your workflow, even something as simple as how you start your day, how you prepare for meetings, how you follow up, you reduce decision fatigue, you reduce stress, and you increase clarity. That's leadership at the personal level. Culture is where this either works or it fails. Silence around risk is not harmony, it's avoidance. In strong teams, risk conversations are normal. Engineers understand the why behind the controls that they implement. And raising concerns doesn't get you labeled difficult, it's seen as leadership. But this is where many of us feel the tension. We see the risk, we have the insight, but we hesitate to speak. Just let that sit for a moment, because this is where many strong professionals struggle. You see something, you recognize a risk, you notice a gap, you have perspective that could actually change the outcome. But then you pause and you think, is this the right time? How will I be perceived if I share this? Am I overthinking it? Do I have enough information to even raise it? And in that moment, silence feels safer than speaking up. But the truth is, silence may protect your comfort, but it will not protect the outcome. And strong cultures are not built because everyone agrees upon everything. They're built because we're willing to speak and to have the difficult conversations. And that's not technical courage. That's personal courage. True leaders empower those around them to highlight issues, to learn from mistakes, not to hide them. At the leadership level, clarity matters. If risk appetite isn't defined, teams are left to make assumptions. If ownership isn't clear, accountability disappears. Ambiguity creates burnout. Clarity creates confidence. And if you're unclear in your own direction, your own boundaries, you'll absorb expectations that were never yours to carry. And this is where misalignment becomes personal. Because when expectations are unclear at the top, they don't disappear, they cascade. They land on teams, they land on individuals, they land on you. And if you don't have clarity for yourself, what you own, what you don't, what you're responsible for, you'll overcompensate. You'll overdeliver, you'll overextend, not because it's required, but because it's unclear. Clarity is not just organizational, it's personal protection. So, what can we do about this? Leadership starts with better questions. Before you launch something, ask, what trust promise are we making? Where does the data travel? Who owns the exposure? Because asking better questions doesn't slow you down, it strengthens your ability to make good decisions. And this isn't just about systems, it's about how you advocate for yourself in the room. And here's where influence really starts to shift. Most people answer questions. Leaders ask better questions. And when you ask the right question at the right time, you don't just change the answer, You change the direction of the conversation. You change the quality of the decision. And you change how you are perceived by the people in the room. You don't need a massive overhaul to improve compliance. Start small. Build one control into your definition of done, be it log validations, access checks, data classification. Small controls consistently applied outperform heroic cleanups every time. And the same is true for confidence. Small, consistent actions build trust in yourself over time. But we often underestimate small things because they don't feel significant in the moment. But consistency compounds, and confidence works the same way. It's not built in one big moment, it's built in small, repeatable decisions. Speaking up once, following through, setting one boundary, holding one standard. Over time, that becomes your reputation with others and with yourself. Your influence increases when you connect risk to value, not policy, value. Instead of saying, we need to do this for compliance, say, this protects customers' trust. This accelerates enterprise sales. This reduces friction in regulated markets. This is how leaders communicate. And the same applies to your voice. When you connect your perspective to value, people listen differently. And this is where many technically strong professionals miss opportunities because they communicate in accuracy, but leaders communicate in impact. You might be right, you may be precise, but if people don't understand why it matters, your influence is limited. And the same is true for your voice. When you connect what you see to what matters, people don't just hear you, they listen. What we design into our systems, we must design into ourselves. Everything that we've discussed for systems applies to how you lead. Let's use the word compliance as a personal acrostic to build resilience in you and in those around you. In this case, the letter C stands for clarity. Know what matters before pressure defines it for you. O, ownership. Lead from where you are. The M stands for margin. Without space, without that time for reflection, your decision making suffers. P, proof. Track your impact, not just your effort. Why does all that effort matter? Lead with the impact. The L stands for limits. Boundaries are structural integrity in your systems and in your life. The A stands for accountability. Don't operate in isolation. The N, narrative. Your internal voice shapes your leadership. My personal motto is the voice within wins. What you believe to be true about yourself, you will be busy creating that life for the rest of your life. So hear that internal voice. Understand the stories that you're telling yourself about yourself, where you belong, what you're capable of, and where that voice falls short, where it's negative instead of uplifting. Be willing to do the work to reframe that voice so that you get out of your own way. The next C stands for courage. Speak before you feel ready. You don't have to have all the data to contribute to the conversation and spark a new thought. And the E, energy. Protect it like infrastructure. Protect your energy at all costs, because compliance by design reduces system chaos, but clarity by design reduces internal chaos. What you'll notice is this: none of these things require permission. None of these things require a particular title. What they are choices. And when you make them consistently, you don't become just more effective, you become more grounded, more clear, more confident, more intentional. Secure systems don't happen by accident, and neither do resilient leaders. Design for trust in your architecture and design for alignment in your life. I'll leave you with one question for reflection. Where in your work or in your life are you moving fast without designing for trust? Finding the answer to this question presents opportunity, an opportunity to firm up systems to ensure that the right things are happening and the wrong things are not, and the opportunity to find clarity and build stronger relationships. The opportunities are there. Give yourself the space to find them. I have really enjoyed sharing my thoughts with you on building resilience in your systems and in your life. As I stated earlier, I've had a long career in tech. I enjoyed my 26th anniversary with my employer just this past March. But there's more to me than the day job. I also have spent several years coaching and training in the space of mindset and leadership development. And I especially have a passion for working with women in tech. My motto, as you heard me say a little earlier, is the voice within wins. It encapsulates what I believe is the true brake or accelerator in our lives, what we believe about ourselves. It's a personal mission to work with as many women in tech as possible, to help them as they walk through their career journey, finding their voice, finding their self confidence, finding their value, and finding the alignment amongst all of those things so that they have the opportunity to really soar in their careers and in their lives. I would love to continue the conversation. I have a newsletter on LinkedIn that comes out every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Central, and it's called The Voice Within Wins. I'd love for us to continue this conversation. The QR code here will take you directly to my LinkedIn account. Let's connect and let's continue to soar together. Thank you.